And we are live.
Yes, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I've just realised that I've not set the right background. How very, very amateur of me. There you go. That's much better. There we go. First of all, good morning, Chris B. Happy Christmas. How was your Christmas day other than football? Are you good?
Yeah, very well. And Merry Christmas to everybody. And I hope everybody enjoyed it with their families.
I'm sure everybody did. If you did, great. If you didn't, this probably isn't the show to air. Why not? But listen, Chris, Tottenham Hotspur is what we like talking about. Whenever you come on, loads of people say to me, "Oh, get Chris on regularly." We love Chris. Chris is dry. He's got a dry sense of humour. Have you had that all your life?
It's just who I am, mate.
It's just who he is, people. All right, don't judge. It's who he is. Chris, let's start. Listen, one day we're going to come on here and we're going to have a really good month of form and something really positive to talk about. Unfortunately, since we last spoke, Chris, it's just got worse and worse and worse. Talk to me in general. I'm not going to lead you with any question. Tottenham in general, go. Like, what do you think?
Oh, the thing is a complete mess. And you opened up this stream by using the word amateur. And I've never seen such an amateur manager than is Angepostecoglou. The man is out of his depth. He is tactically naive. He has no plan B. You look at him on the touchlines. He's shaking his head repeatedly, looking at the floor. But it's more than that. And all of those people in the summer, when we got rid of your Ndombele's, your Lacelso's, your Sessegnons, your Eric Dyers, we cleared the decks. There were people within this fan base who were happy that we'd signed Bergvall, Archie Gray, Timo Werner, and then the only forward that we signed who would actually contribute to the first team picture straight away, Angggeee. So actually, the writing was on the wall as early as the summer when we had a paper-thin squad which lacked any talent, and there was nobody that could come into the team straight away and lift us above what we'd achieved last season. So we never added a second goalkeeper, so we were going to be reliant on a 36, 37-year-old journeyman in the event that Vicario was injured. We have no plan B in the fullback positions. So what you're actually saying is that all of those mainstays in the team were pretty much guaranteed football week in, week out. They were unopposed. There was no one pushing. There was no one challenging them. They didn't have to up their game through fear of am I going to get selected next Saturday. Of course you were. And then you look at the actual players. Nobody has been coached. Nobody has improved. There's not one player you saw play 18 months ago compared to now. And you think, wow, they've come on leaps and bounds. Everybody's regressing. Everybody's going backwards. Then you look at the midfield. My God, how much space and time did Nottingham Forest have yesterday to play through that midfield? Then you look at the wingers. Sorry, guys and girls, if this is going to upset you, but Son should be nowhere near a Tottenham shirt at present. No. 33 next year. What does he offer? He offers absolutely nothing. Then on the other side, Brennan Johnson. He looks in fear of a football every time he sees it. And then in front of him, you've got Solanke, through no fault of his own, came into the club on a hefty price tag. Is he a £65 million footballer? I'd suggest not. But it is what it is, and we've just got to get on with it. So there's two things. It's the squad, it's the lack of managerial capability, and the whole project. We love that word, project. It's regressing. We're now 9 points off the relegation battle and 10 points off the top four. So we're closer to one end of the table than we are the other. And unless we change things up quickly, we're going to sleepwalk into a relegation battle because our squad is not good. And based on the statistics that you'll pull up, we're nowhere near what we should be doing. The whole thing is a joke.
How do you know I've got statistics ready? How would you know that?
Because I know you're that type of guy and you like a statistic to support a statement. But the whole thing yesterday was a joke. Like, Udogie, how far away from Milanga was he when he broke for the goal in the second half?
Mad.
But that's not unique to Udogie. He does it week in, week out. And then you look at in the second half when Dragusin, who's a very average, poor footballer, to be perfectly truthful, when Dragusin's oinked off, we're left with Archie Gray and Yves Bissouma as our centre-backs for a Premiership club that in the Deloitte World Money Leagues is the 8th biggest club in world football. The whole thing's a joke, isn't it? It's pathetic.
Yeah, and listen, Adam Hines, we're going to probably talk about this in a little bit. I know Chris has got something to say on this, so Adam, don't you worry about the looking backwards. We will do. Look, as the show goes on, I will bring up some facts and stats, Chris. I'll tell you what baffles me is, you know, when you think to yourself, right, well, another defeat, and surely people will wake up, right? And you think, well, another defeat, surely, and we've had another, surely. This is the manager where it seems like it's never ending, mate. You know, I'm trying to think of a good analogy to liken this to, and I can't at the moment, but it's literally, I don't want to be clichéic, but I'm going to be. It is the definition of insanity. Like,
doing the same thing time and time again. Yeah.
We're losing game after game doing the same thing. And still fans go, oh, but injuries. Oh, but the first 10 games of last season. And you're like, how long are we going to do this for? I want to, look, Chris, what I want to start off by talking about is the number of defeats we've had, if that's all right with you, Chris. I want to talk about the number of defeats we've had because, first and foremost, call me old-fashioned, Christopher. Sorry, I love calling you Christopher. Yes, Richard. I call me old-fashioned, but the league table is the table that doesn't lie. So whatever anyone says about manipulating stats, the league table doesn't lie, and the league table is comprised of 3 things only, really: wins, draws, and defeats. Right?
The only thing the only thing that matters is wins, isn't it? It's a wins-based business. You're judged on your performances.
Of course. So if I'm going to show you, first of all, I want us to look at the league table. This is the current Premier League table. Let's start at the top. I don't know why we're nowhere near it, but let's start at the top. So if we look at the league table there, we can see, I mean, straight away, we are 19. I'm not talking about winning leagues, by the way, Chris, so please don't ever pop at me here. We're not even halfway, or we're 1 game away from 50% games played, and we are 19 points away from Liverpool. This time last year, I just want to I don't know if you know this, but this time last year, we had 37 points. So this time last year, we would have been second.
So Tottenham, after 18 games last season, 11 wins, 3 draws, 4 losses, 37 scored, 24 conceded, 37 points.
Do you know what you'd love from me right now? As if I did that and put it on the screen, wouldn't you?
Yeah, and there you go. There you go. So yeah, and then Tottenham after 18 matches this season, 7 wins, 2 draws, 9 losses.
Right.
How can you justify that?
First of all, I'll come back to this in a minute. Thank you for the Spurs Express. I'll come back to that in a minute. The worrying thing for me in all of this is very much the fact that we've lost 50% of our games and we've not even won 50%. I don't know. I reckon that the win percentage is 42%, 43, something like that. 7 wins from 18. Somebody in the chat will probably be able to work that out in more detail for me. But the worrying thing here, Chris, is we're 19 points away from the top. And if we then scroll down to our true position in the league, here we go. If we look down here, right, you look how many points we are off of Leicester City, who are the 3rd team in the relegation zone. We are 9 points above the relegation zone. Now, don't get me wrong, Chris. I don't think we're going to be in any danger of relegation at all. But teams that we were miles above, West Ham, Man United, Everton, Palace, are starting, that gap starting to not be as big, Chris. And even Wolverhampton Wanderers, who have put 2 wins together.
2 on 2, yep.
And then play us.
With a third on Sunday.
The question I'm going to ask is, At what stage do we stop doing the whole, well, we're only X amount of points off top four, and actually go, hang on, we're down with the Evertons and the Palaces of this world?
There's something you've got to be very aware of, that word, we are never too good. There is nothing to suggest that we are any better than the likes of Wolverhampton Wanderers, West Ham, Crystal Palace at the moment, because at least they have managers who set them up to win games. Look at the new manager bounce at Wolverhampton Wanderers, 2 wins in their last 2 games. You've got Ipswich Town, similar to Luton Town. They are trying to make the most of a limited budget, but they've got a guy there, Kieran McKenna, who came to White at the Tottenham Stadium, did a number on us, walked away with 3 points. Yeah. So you've got to be very careful what you say, because you don't know how the transfer window will go for those teams at the bottom of the table. They know the massive finances that they lose if they go down into the Championship. So it's worth a gamble to keep those clubs active in the Premiership. But at the moment, we aren't doing anything, with the exception of that win against a really poor Southampton side that saw Russell Martin subsequently marched off the premises. Yep. When was the last time we played good football? When was the last time we changed things up? When was the last time Ange thought, I tell you know what, I'll go 5 at the back to counter the opposition? The whole performance and display, the game before last at Liverpool, it was men against boys. We were so lacking in every area. But you've got people saying, I'd rather watch a 6-3 defeat than a 1-0 defensive performance under Conte, where we walked away with 3 points. Are you naive or just stupid, or do you just not want to see your team succeed in life? Because the game is about glory. The game is about winning. And we've got a bloke here managing us who will not achieve a single thing this season. The longer we keep faith with him, the worse it's going to get.
No, completely agree. And the worrying thing, hang on, I shouldn't have probably got rid of that so quickly. The worrying thing about that league table, this was the reason I actually brought it up, is if you look at that loss column, Chris. So for anyone who doesn't know, looking there, the loss column is the 4th column in. So you can see Southampton at the bottom have got 14, Leicester City 10, Wolves 11, Tottenham. This is mad, Chris. Only 3 of the bottom 4 have more defeats than Tottenham Hotspur. We have 9 in 18. Now, I can take this one step further. We've lost 14 of our last 25 Premier League games, Chris. I don't know what has to happen, how far backwards we need to get with this form before people start worrying. I don't know how far backwards we have to go before people realize that the manager's not very good. But what I really wanted to show you was this. I'm going to show you this screen here, right? Now this, hopefully you can all see that. Hopefully that's not too small. This is Tottenham's league finishes since 08-09. We can go backwards. I can go as far back as you want with this. And I want everyone to look at the lost column, and I'll put it up there so everyone can see it, right? If you look at the lost column, in the last 5 seasons, in the last 6 seasons, which would be the last year of Poch and then the 5 years afterwards, where everyone has said, oh, we're a mess, whatever. If you look at that, right? The most amount of defeats we've had in a season is 14. Now, bearing in mind, Chris, this is over 38 games. Last year, we had 12 over 38 games. We're at 9 already, which is more than more than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of those seasons. Right? This is dreadful, Chris. Like, the trend is there. This is so worrying. Why are more people, Chris, not waking up and saying, this manager's killing us?
And do you know what the disgraceful thing is, Savva, is that we marched Nuno Espirito Santo out the door after 10 games as he allegedly wasn't a good enough manager. Yeah, he absolutely outschooled us yesterday. He's got Forest flying, playing some really attractive stuff. Had we signed some of the players that Forest signed in the summer, our fan base would have been having a meltdown. But why does Ange get the free pass? It's like he's got a cult-like status. He's got a following who within their eyes, he can do no wrong. But they're slightly more mature, slightly grumpier, angrier Tottenham fans. That's you and I and a load of others. We sit back and we think, what is this bloke doing? How is he getting away with this? If you went to your dentist, you go to your dentist for some treatment and your dentist continually forgets to put any painkillers in before he abstracts a teeth, you're not going to go back there again, are you? Yet we've
No,
got a bloke who is so naive in his application and deployment of a football team that even Angggeee said it yesterday. There is so much space playing against Tottenham. We know they keep a really high line and it's easy to play through them. And that's an opposition player saying that. And talking to some coaches, I know Ipswich came to Tottenham really fancying their chances of getting something from us because they'd done their homework. They'd seen the high line we play. They knew we were susceptible for a long ball over the top. And guess what? They played us off the park. They got the performance. They got the 3 points. The fact that you continue to do something that doesn't work is a real poor issue for that manager. And the fact that he's stubborn enough to say, if you don't, I'm not going to change my style. If you don't like it, go away. Then it's just bonkers. Why, as a premium brand and an alleged big club, are we entertaining mediocrity and sticking with this bloke where he has got nothing to justify having that job? He was 8th choice manager. It was an underwhelming appointment. You can get away with it in Scotland where you've got 2 teams, Celtic and Rangers, end of story. But these tactics wouldn't fly in League 2, let alone the Premiership.
Well, we've said for ages, haven't we, Chris? The difference is if Ange left Tottenham right now and joined a club who were, I was going to say bottom half, but we're bottom half. If Ange was going to,
he's not going to get another job in the Premiership. There's nobody in the Premiership who would entertain him as their manager.
No, I know that. But my point is this: is if he was going to take over a Wolves, a Palace, a club that has to battle. Do you know what I mean? This guy wouldn't keep them up because he doesn't know how to ground out results. This guy doesn't know. This guy's tactics work when you are Celtic manager with the best playing squad in the league and when no one else can touch you with a barge pole. Now, I want to move further on from those defeats, Chris, because this is worrying. And before I do, I must just say, first of all, big up Blaine Dev. Always very, very generous to the Spurs community. Thank you so much, Blaine Dev. Hope you're well, my man. Just so you know, Blaine, we've got a 24-hour charity stream coming up in February for my sins because I don't sleep for about a week afterwards, believe it or not. Said, morning, Savva. I'm now certain it's time to cut Ange out. Our form since February last season is bottom 3. It is. We concede 1.55 goals per game since his appointment and lose over 1 in 3. Some of the worst stats ever seen at our club. Blaine, I mean, Chris, we can't argue with this, right? Like he's right. They are some of the worst stats we've ever seen, aren't they? We're bottom 3 since February. There's no excuse now, is there? He's bang on.
Increasingly, football pundits are speaking out. You've got your Jamie Carragher's, you've got your Gary Nevilles. Yesterday, Martin O'Neill was interviewed after the game on Amazon, and he was like, you can't use injuries as an excuse. Les Ferdinand was interviewed recently. So you've got those that have played the game, those that have played at the highest level, those that aren't mugs and they know what they're talking about, all starting to ask questions of this guy's pedigree. And quite how he gets away with it amazes me.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. And again, big up Michael. I love Michael. Says, yeah, we still have to go to Villa Park, Emirates, Stamford Bridge, Anfield, and a couple of other tough games against clubs like Fulham. And we're going to talk about Fulham in a little bit. We can easily end on 16 to 18 defeats with this clown. I mean, look, when you have 9 defeats in 18 games, he's going to have a stellar second half of the season. But when we look at the immediacy, Chris, the game's coming up immediately, and I'm going to remove cup games. But immediately we've got, if I'm not wrong, we've got Wolves coming up, Newcastle. I want to say Arsenal coming up, and all 3 of those teams are in form. Just as they're about to play Spurs. We're not in danger of a relegation battle, are we, Chris? We're not that bad, are we?
Look, you can never say never. In theory, we shouldn't be, because there are worse teams beneath us who have got less resources than we have. But it's how you deploy those resources. Like, case in point yesterday, Alfie Dorrington, what is that poor lad thinking when you've got a natural centre-back who doesn't make it off the bench when a centre-back's injured, and instead they put Yves Bissouma, who's bloody useless, to play him at centre back. And we've had the lad from Leeds, Angggeee, filling in at centre back for God knows how many games. Yet you have got a lad who is a professional footballer who we were told was absolutely outstanding all last season for the under-21s. You had the usual hype and the usual buzzwords coming out, generational, once in a lifetime. Yet the bloke can't even get off the bench. And Ange is his own biggest fool because he continues selecting your sons. You bring on Timo Werner when you're in desperation looking for a goal. You might as well play with 10 men. He's bloody useless. So he couldn't hit a barn door. And then Maddison, 8 goals this season, his highest goal scoring return since Leicester days. And he finds himself in and out of the squad on the bench.
He's the scapegoat, isn't he, Chris?
Yeah, of course he is. He's the one. And
Maddison's the scapegoat.
Yeah. And he's starting to look like, I don't get this. And then on the right side, Brennan Johnson. We have got such bad wingers that none of them make a run behind the opposing fullback, and none of them can cross the ball. They're just all wet wipes who offer nothing.
Yeah, look, I think it's crazy. I really do. Just so you know, I just looked at the Spurs fixtures, and after Newcastle United, so we play Newcastle United on the 4th, I believe, and then Newcastle United on the 4th. We've then got
tonight. He's not going to cause as many problems, is he?
Oh, it's going to be horrible. Isak and Gordon and Murphy running against our back four. And then we've got, after Newcastle United, we've got Liverpool away in the cup. We've got Tamworth away in the cup, Arsenal away in the league, Everton away in the league, Hoffenheim away. So in January, we've got like 5 away games in a row, which is going to be Carabao Cup, FA Cup, Europa League and Premier League. I genuinely don't see many points coming between now and the end of January, Chris. Now, Danny, I want to talk about Danny yesterday from Hotspur Hood. Big up, Dan. Please subscribe to his channel. Really good guy. He made a point yesterday, which I don't think he's far wrong, Chris. He said he reckons that Levy will keep hold of Ange until the end of January because it's the obvious. It's kind of like, well, don't really do a lot in the transfer window. Keep him till the end of Jan. Bring in the new manager and be like, oh, well, we've just missed. We'll have to wait till the summer to do anything for the new manager. Did you go along with that theory?
No, Levy's got to realise he's in the last chance saloon. And if we are languishing towards the bottom end of the table and we need a big January, you really go trust a bloke who's unlikely to be there much longer with finances to bring in players that he wants. Somebody else might come in a little bit more seasoned and their immediate priority may be, look, we need a strong spine. You look at title winning teams throughout the years, they've always had a good goalkeeper, 2 good centre backs and a strong midfield. We haven't got any of those. So you bring a new player in, a new manager in, he might have very specific ideas about what he wants. I think it'd be dangerous and foolhardy to waste money. And let's not forget, this is a bloke who thought it was a good idea to bring Werner back on a second loan, 45 million on Brennan Johnson, 65 million on Solanke. The amount of money that he's close to 400 million that he's invested, but he's not invested that wisely. And we haven't bought a single decent player who lifts to the level of the club. We've just squandered it on dross.
Yeah, I mean, look, I completely agree with you. I'll tell you what else is dross, Chris. We've got 478 people in the chat and only 85 likes. And likes for a YouTuber are like currency. So please smash that like button. We should easily be on 200. Guys, please keep subscribing as well. We're now only 185 away from 15K. I did have delusions of grandeur, and I said I'm going to be on 15K by January the 1st. So I don't know the ratios of what I need to hit in the next 5 days to get there. But if we get a few more subscribers, we can maybe make it happen. It would be like winning the last 10 games of the season and winning a title. Chris, something else I'm gonna show you, which will lead another conversation. Is this we looked at this just now briefly, but I want to look at this in more detail. Chris, when people are defending this guy, I mean, if we look at this bit by bit, we're 4 wins down on this time last season, right? We're 1 draw down. I don't even know if that's a good thing or bad thing, but it just is what it is. We're 5 defeats worse. 5. We're 2 goals more. Yay. Well done. We're 2 goals more conceded. And we're 14. The headline is 14 points worse off. Chris, I still see people saying things like, we have to get better. We have to get worse to get better. It's a process. It's a project. He's only 18 months in. But Chris, after 18 months of a project, whether that be at work, whether that be in sport, by now you've weeded out the rubbish. You've sorted out some of the kinks along the way, haven't you? And you should be seeing some gradual green shoots. But this picture doesn't tell that story.
Just have a look at Maresca, who arrived at Chelsea at the beginning of the season. How long's his project taking him? Well, he may be on a 3-4 year contract, but he's got out the starting blocks and he's absolutely flying. This bloke's almost 2 years into his contract. And what improvement has there been? There is no, if there was a clear plan and we could see performances improving, we could see young players introduced to the side and we could all get behind it. So actually, we might be losing from time to time, but there's hope at the end of the rainbow. We'd probably give him some time, but we're not seeing any of those things. We're seeing a bloke who looks lost. His interview yesterday was as a man whose confidence is shot to pieces, and there are no positives. But all of these people, predominantly those that have Brennan Johnson figures as their user icon on social media feeds, they're blind to the truth. They're still young and impressionable, and they go with the buzzwords. You've got to, as mature people, sit back, analyze what's going on and be critical, and rightfully critical, because it's about analyzing how you can improve and how you can get better, not being pulled into this cult-like movement where saying, oh, it's a long-term project to give him 2-3 years. Yeah. Football doesn't work that way. You're judged on your last 5 results. And generally, if you lose 5 on the bounce, you should be marched out of the building. And it's all about, there's always also this notion about, oh, if we sack him, Levy wins again. Levy owns the football club. Unless somebody comes along with £3-4 billion, he's not going anywhere. He's not going to give up his rich pot of cash. So that shouldn't be a justification to keep a bloke who's woefully unequipped, who's out of his depth and is taking us backwards. That's not how it works. It's a performance-related business.
Yeah. Look, unfortunately, Barry, this would be funny, but at the moment, I can't see 16 points coming. Jim, dude, you've got to chill out, mate. I'm sure at this point you are trolling me. A period of challenge from Jim. There's something else I'm going to show you, Chris, because I think, look, these things have to be seen. This, I'm not sure. Oh, that's a bit small. It's a bit small, but if anybody can see that, and apologies, it's tiny, right? That is the last 25 Premier League games for all teams, Chris. And you can see that Chelsea are top, Tottenham are 5th.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Now, the reason that doesn't go past 17th is because the 3 teams that are not there are the 3 teams that got promoted. They wouldn't have played 25 games. Now, Tottenham, right, are only worse than Wolves and West Ham in the last 25 Premier League games. Look at the state of that. In the last 25 games, we are 29 points. We're below Everton. Chris, Everton, we're below this. Look at the teams.
They've been in repeated relegation battles for the last 2 or 3 seasons. They had no money to spend and have been day by day seeing the club just survive prior to the most recent takeover. Yeah.
So again, that's where Tottenham are in the last 25 games. Apologies that that's small, everyone. So again, I immediately look at Forest and Palace in 6th and 7th. Oh, actually, look at 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th. Look at Forest, Palace, Bournemouth, Fulham. No one's going to tell me they've got better squads.
Do you know the thing with Forest? They've only been in the Premiership 2 seasons. They came up the season before last when Jed Spence was playing there, Brennan Johnson, and they had that first season under Cooper. In 2 seasons, they've done everything that we haven't. They've got a proper director of football in there. They have made the additions on the pitch. They've got a manager in who is taking them forward. They're playing progressive, free-flowing football. And they've got somebody who is passionate about the club, Miraculous, the Greek guy. Yet we're in the complete opposite. We are completely detached from everything that they're doing, and it's showing. The whole club's a mess from start to bottom.
But I mean, again, all of these things that I'm bringing up and showing, Chris, what happens is as soon as I finish this show, what I get a lot across all of my social media platforms will be, oh, Savva's cherry picking. Chris, I don't know how much more I can.
You can't cherry pick the table. The table tells it as it is. If you want to see it, go onto any social media feed and put Tottenham, and all of those stats will come out. There is no positive from any of our recent performances. I've had a season ticket at Tottenham since 1990. We're now in 2024. This is the worst coach I've seen since Christian Gross. And we just set up with no idea. We've got players who don't know what they're doing. We've got this whole inverted wing-back thing. Rubbish, crap, get rid of it. This high line, kamikaze. Any team is built with a strong spine. You think about the really successful United teams we grew up on, Pallister and Bruce in the centre-back, Schmeichel in goal, Roy Keane through the middle. People won't go play through that. Us, we're like a sieve. We're about as effective as a chocolate tea cozy. We turn up, but we turn up in name only, and we are weak men. We've got weak mentalities. We haven't got any leaders on the pitch. Say the fact that Son is turned out week in, week out as the captain is criminal. Based on what I've heard and what I've seen recently, Kulusevski should be wearing that captain's armband because he talks like a captain, and he's the only one there that's motivated. But what will happen is this will continue, and at the end of the season, you'll have Romero, Mickey van der Ven, and Kulu's agents banging at the door saying, we're off. And there's plenty of clubs. Kulusevski, the sticky situation that Man City are in at the moment, I wouldn't be surprised if they were looking at him because he offers something different.
Well, look, I mean, even if I look at the form table in the Premier League, Chris, the last 6 games, Tottenham have won 1 of 6. There's a couple of teams that are the same as that. Man City are 1. I think not Brentford, they've won 2. The only team, so here you go. The teams that have won 1 of their last 6 are Man City and Spurs, Leicester City, and Ipswich. The only team with a worse record in the last 6 games, Chris, than Tottenham?
Southampton,
who have lost. Here we go. Southampton, who have drawn 2 and lost 4. So Tottenham are only 3 points better off from the last 18 points than Southampton, who are rock bottom and have had to just change their manager. Everything points to terrible. Now, here's the last picture I've got for you, Chris. I won't do any more after this, I promise. But this one for me, let's get rid of that. This one for me is the most damning. This one for me is anybody who wants to tell me I'm cherry picking, look at this. This is going back to 2014. So we've gone back, how many seasons? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 managers, right? 13 managers there in the last 10 years. I'm not saying 13 different managers, but his points average this season is worse than any other manager on that list. And the 1.38, which is the closest to him, which is Poch in 1920. This was the year that Poch was sacked. This was the end of Poch. This wasn't like Poch was what we saw above. 1.87, 2.03, that's 2.26. This manager, Chris, has a 1.28 points average. That, just to confirm to anybody, that is what most teams in the last decade that have finished 14th to 16th have averaged. Let that sink in. That's where this manager is at, and still people rate him. Take that in, people. Take this chart in. Savva's not cherry picking. Savva's not clever enough to make this clever little graph either. Look at it, Chris. What do you make of that?
It shows what we've been discussing for not only 34 minutes today, but the last 6 months, that this bloke is not up to it. He's a charlatan. He's a Walter Mitty, yet he still has this gospel-like standing and this cult-like presence that will justify and defend his every action, when anybody who knows anything about football will stand back, look at it and say, this bloke's not up to the job. He's got to go. You think about Erik ten Hag, he did something that we haven't achieved for years, and that's won 2 consecutive titles, the FA Cup and the League Cup in consecutive seasons. And there's people saying he's not good enough, let's get rid. Yeah, we embrace mediocrity as a club. We have forgot what success is about. We lack ambition. We lack a winning mentality on the pitch, and we sign bang average footballers. When was the last time we brought in somebody who made us stand up and take note? Long gone are the days of your Ginnelas, your Van der Vaarts, your Modric's, your Bales. Somebody had something about, and we just stockpile crap.
Look, it's damning. I mean, the thing is, it really doesn't. It really doesn't matter which stats you look at from his tenure. It's just been dreadful. But what I want to talk to you about, Chris, is I want to look forward. Now, I don't think he's going anywhere. For me, I think if he loses to Wolves, he should 100% be sacked. I'll be honest, Chris, for me, he should have been sacked a year ago when he decided to put 9 men on the halfway line against Chelsea. That was the moment I realised.
That was the beginning of the end. But we keep on talking about the size and the strength of this football club. He is going to be on peanuts compared to what Mourinho was on, what Conte was on. Big clubs act like big businesses, and they get rid of people first, ask questions later. There is no justification for this bloke to stay, because we dilute the brand, we regress down the league, and then in the summer, when we haven't got any Champions League football, which was never likely, but when we haven't got any European football, guess what? The transfer budget will be less. So there'll be all those murmurings. So if you want success, you've got to do what's right for the football club. Keeping this joker is not right at all. This bloke will not go down in the legacy of Tottenham Hotspur Football Club as one of our greatest ever managers. He'll go down as a bloke who got lucky, got a gig he didn't expect, and then tried to employ the exact tactics he'd used in Scotland. There's a massive difference between the two leagues.
No, I completely agree. I completely agree. I mean, look, I'm just struggling with everything about this manager at the moment, and I'm waiting, right? I'm waiting to see how many people now start to come around. I'm starting to, what I've seen already from the YouTubers, Chris, is a lot of people who made these ridiculous videos about this Spurs are scary. Spurs are going to get 83 points and finish third. By the way, do you know how many the maximum points this Spurs can now finish on if we win every game this season?
I'm not, but you will tell me, so hit me with it, big boy.
Well, I worked out yesterday that we've got 20 games left, if I'm not wrong. 320s are 60. We've got 23 points at the moment. The most points we can finish on is 83. The number of Spurs YouTubers that were doing, I think we're going to finish top 3 and we're going to get 80 points, 83 points. I want to know how many of them are going to turn around now and go, yeah, I was massively, massively wrong about this manager. But they're not. They're doubling down. Now, Chris, what I want to do, though, is I don't want to go to that. I want to move away. I want to move to all I've asked for. Right, all I've asked for is a manager. I don't need, it doesn't have to have the name of Conte. It doesn't have to have a Pep name, an Ancelotti name. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't need to be a big, wow, sexy name in the headlines, Chris. I want a manager that looks at the opposition and says, how do I negate what they do whilst getting the best out of what we do? And I want to bring up an example of that, of someone that's not glamorous, someone that's had their ups and downs, but somebody that is getting better as a manager as they get older. And I just want to use this guy as an example, Chris. I'm not saying he's the be-all and end-all. He's my number one choice. I look at Marco Silva at Fulham, right?
Yeah.
And yesterday, this conversation couldn't come at a better time. Yesterday, he took his team to a high-flying Chelsea who needed to win to stay on the coattails of Liverpool. And he changed his formation from a back 4 to wing backs and came away with 3 points away at Chelsea, who were in form. And I looked at that yesterday and went, can you imagine our manager ever adapting like that, going to a bigger club and saying, yeah, this is how we're going to change what we do? That's all I want from a manager, Chris. Is that fair enough?
Yeah, Ange has openly said he's not going to change his ways. So the whole discussion is wasted. But yeah, we spoke before we started chatting today, and Marco Silva is pulling up trees. He's doing good stuff on a limited budget with one of the less attractive or trendy of clubs in London. And that's all we want. We want somebody who's got a principle that works, not the same principle as Ange, as that's just ridiculous. And we want somebody that's going to get us back on winning ways and to send us up the table as opposed to down it.
Yeah, it's just madness, isn't it? Like don't get me wrong, I'm not going to sit here and die on a hill for someone like Marco Silva, but I'm looking at the Silvas, I'm looking at the Areolas, I'm looking at these managers that aren't afraid to mix things up, aren't afraid to say, you know what, today I need 3 centre-backs. Today I only need 2. I need 2 centre-mids today. Actually, today I need a third one to go and sit in there. I'll play 2 up top today. No, I'll play 1 up top. I just look at it and go, these, again, I feel bad saying this, these smaller clubs are really out-managing us. These managers are showing us what to do. And Nuno's an example of that yesterday. Player for player, Chris. How many of them not in Forest players? Realistically, the 2 centre-halves absolutely was sublime. 2 centre-halves I'd take over ours all day. But if I started talking to you about Yates and Alangas and Woods and Andersons and Nico Williams, no one would want them at Tottenham. So what are these managers doing? What are they doing that we're not?
They're setting the players up to understand what their role in the team is, how the formation of the team is, and how they go adapt to game changes. We are all gung-ho and we never change. So it's about making the resources, the best of the resources available to you, which these supposed lesser managers are doing week in, week out.
Yeah, it's madness. I mean, you look at it, if I look at the table right now, I'm looking at, Nottingham Forest on 34 points. So if I don't know whether or not they can continue that form throughout the season, but they've given themselves a real fighting chance. They're right up there. Newcastle, I was told Eddie Howe was a terrible manager. Newcastle have had loads of injuries this season.
Yeah, Chris. But they just roll with it and get on with it. It's You can't use injuries. You can't use injuries as an excuse. It's part of professional sport, and if your squad's big enough to deal with that, you haven't got a problem. And that goes back to my first point earlier today. It was the fact that we were happy to roll into the season with a paper-thin squad, that we've created many of these problems ourselves.
Yeah. No, but by the way, what I'm not going to do, Chris, is sit here and go, oh my God, all these managers are amazing. These managers manage the level that they do and the level that they have for a reason. But my issue with all of this is our manager is the level below these mid-level managers. That's the concern for me. So I think the next guy this club gets in, we need to stop going on about, oh, we need a Klopp, we need a Simeone, we need a man. Do you know what I mean? We need a man that's been there, seen it, done it, that goes into press conferences and doesn't embarrass us, that actually turns around and says, you know, we weren't good today. We weren't good today. I need to sort that out. I heard Silva say a few weeks ago in one of the games Fulham dropped, I can't remember which one it was, and Silva in his press conference turned around and he said, yeah, look, he went, I'm not happy today. The players in there aren't happy. We let ourselves down. We weren't good. And I sat there and I thought, can you imagine Ange saying that? I can't imagine him saying that. Ange says things like, I thought we controlled the game. You're like, what game are you watching?
Yeah. He talks in riddles. He makes no eye contact with the person interviewing him. He had that annoying cough initially, but that now seems to have spread to a scratch. And he is not good for the club. And yet it always amazes me that you've got those unofficial mouthpieces that come out pro-Ange, like Alistair Gould's done something this morning where, again, he's all about, I'll give him time, you've got about the project. And you're like, no. And it's people who listen to somebody of Alistair Gould's notoriety that it fuels the negative reaction where people actually believe what he's telling them. Yet all of us hardworking, genuine football fans who can make an observation based what our 2 eyes are telling us can tell this guy's not good, not up to it. but you've still got these outlets trying to massage and groom us into their way of thinking. And it's time people stood up and saw it for what it is. And this bloke's never going to be good for this football club. He's bang out of his depth.
Absolutely. And just quickly before I ask you another question, guys and girls, there's 604 people in here, which is crazy for Friday. Is it Friday today? Friday morning, yes. You know, it threw me because last night the wife goes, "We've got to put the bins out." And I'm like, "Have we? What day is it?" I was like, didn't have a clue what the days were. Please smash the like button, people. There's 607 of you now. Only 175 likes. And if we could get another 20, 30 of you subscribing, we'll be so close to the 15K, which means a lot to me. So please do smash that. Ben, absolutely big up Ben Kaufman, the mod father. Absolutely, mate. A sensible manager is all I'm asking for. Chris, I want to ask this. We've got the January transfer window, and all of this, I feel like I've forgotten. It opens in about 5 days, right? If I'm not wrong, 4 or 5 days. 2 questions. One, would you want this manager to have any more players?
I said that at the outset. Yeah.
And 2, do you think whatever players he brings in makes a difference to his shambolic tactics?
He's already told us he's not going to change. His identification of players is somewhat questionable. Why would you give somebody, well, in Levy's case, probably about 30 million to spend on improving the team when he may not be there? But so far, he's not got it right. We need a completely different change in our approach to recruitment. Stop signing embryos and kids. Let's get seasoned pros. We need some nasty buggers who get in there and make us difficult to play against. And somebody posted earlier about the old Stoke manager, Tony Pulis. We need the Stoke mentality. We're so soft and weak and naive and fragile that teams break us down, because when it gets a bit nasty, we haven't got men. We need to go out there and sign some real men who can fight when they need to, instead of 17, 18-year-olds who 6, 7 years from now might fulfill their potential. But we're going into battle with seasoned, experienced Premiership squads and teams, and we've been found out. Yeah.
No, absolutely. And just quickly, sorry, I'm just going to go off on a tangent just quickly. I've just seen, what's his name? The West Ham manager. I always get his name, Lopetegui.
Lopetegui. Yeah.
Lopetegui. I always get that wrong. Yeah. But I've just seen him on the screen, and I'll tell you why it gave me a wry smile. Because when I said, I think West Ham have had a good transfer window, but I think their manager's not very good. Right? And at the beginning of the season, the number of people that were going to me, Sav, you're so dumb. You're so negative. They're dreadful. Look at their players. Their manager's rubbish. West Ham are level on points with us, Chris. West Ham are level on points.
And only a few games ago, it was, who were they playing? Wolves, and it was who was going to get sacked first, Gary O'Neill at the time, or Lopetegui. Yeah.
Well, I did a watch along on Big Up for that game, right? And my title of the show was the Who Gets Sacked First Derby.
Or Sakio Derby or something of that nature. Yeah.
And it makes me laugh that we've gone to the point where 4 weeks ago, everyone's going, oh my God, the West Ham manager's dreadful. He's got to go. He's shocking. 4 weeks later, they're level with Tottenham. And I've got my 2 best men at my wedding were West Ham fans, right? And I've got them messaging me going, how on earth are we level with you? Like, we've been dreadful and we're level with Tottenham. And it's like, yeah, we ain't good, lads. I'm trying to, but Chris, this is the problem. You do hear a lot of people that are saying he needs better players. Give him more transfer windows. My concern with this, Chris, is you bring in more players. What caliber are they going to be? Because first of all, there's 2 things here. One, what caliber will Tottenham actually try and strive to buy? But Chris, I keep asking people this question. I'll ask you the same as I've asked many others. If I'm trying to sign Chris B, and Chris B plays centre-half for, I don't know, you play centre-half for Fulham. You play centre-half for Wolves, right? And you're much talked about. Everyone wants you. You're a good centre-half, right? But you're a proper centre-half. No nonsense. You get the job done. If I'm Angepostecoglou and I knock on the door and go, hi, Chris, it's Ange. I want you to come and join Tottenham. As a centre-half, aren't you going to look at the way we play? As a fullback even, aren't you going to look at the way we play and go, I've got no interest in joining the way your team defends. Isn't that
you're
going
a
to be a
top,
problem? That people won't want to play this style.
if you're a top player, you wouldn't want to come anywhere near the club in its current state.
No.
100%, you would not want to come anywhere near this club. And unofficially, I think we've gone down the route of signing kids in the past because they're young and impressionable, and Ange can get into their minds and try and convince them that this is the way forward. But if you're a seasoned pro who's 29, 30 years of age, you've played 200-300 games in the Premiership, you're going to start saying, what are you doing? What is this all about? And we heard the murmurings from Eric Dier before leaving about one of Ange's training sessions, and he was saying it was ridiculous. There was no consistency. He was like, what are we doing here? So because of his absolute lunacy and his absolute lack of common sense, there's going to be players sitting from the outside looking in thinking, I don't go anywhere near Tottenham. I'm a centre-back. They play a high line. Pace isn't particularly my friend. No thanks. It's just going to affect my individual reputation. But you looked at the centre-backs yesterday, Murillo and Milenkovic. They're the players that you could have picked up for less than 25 million for the two of them. And that Milenkovic came from Italy.
11.6 million.
6'5" inches tall. When I'm talking about you want somebody who is a man, he is 100% a man, and he'd put his head in the battle, and he's going to block things, and he's going to be hard for the opposition forwards to play against. As on, you can play through him. And it continues that we spent 40 million on an 18-year-old central midfielder who has played more games at left centre half. And the bloke Dragusin, who we all got excited about, started doing Street Fighter memes and started saying, "Oh, we were cooking. He was the best thing to come out of Italy." He's bang average. The fact that Liverpool publicly said in their post-match interview that the plan was all week to target him. You've got professional athletes and professional coaches seeing the weak link and saying, "Let's go for it. Let's pick at him." And that's happened week in, week in, out against Pedro Porro. Everybody's got really quick and very wise very quickly to the fact he can't defend. So yesterday we put Spence in, offered us a little bit more physicality, but again, these are the things that leave us wide open.
No, look, absolutely. I mean, Chris, do you know what? Somebody sent me a message last night on YouTube, which was they clearly put a lot of time and energy into looking at the stats and the data. So Mark PZ9XW, whoever you are, big up to you, Mark. I just want to read a few headlines from what he said. He said, "Hi, mate. I've done some number crunching for you and panels to chat about win, lose, draw percentage since Chelsea lost last season with and without the first choice back four." And he's put in brackets, "as this seems to be a common factor thrown out as an argument as to why we're not doing well." I'm just going to read a few of these, Chris, to give you a flavour as to the excuses that are being thrown out by fans that don't actually go and do any research first. It's an easy thing to do, isn't it? It's an easy thing to go, so-and-so's injured, that's why we lost. So here we go. So our win percentage, right? Our win percentage with the full back four. And when I say the full back four, Porro, Angggeee, Van der Ven, Romero, our win percentage overall is 42% and our loss percentage is 36%. Without Van der Ven, right, without Van der Ven only, we're 50-50 in wins and losses, okay? So without Van der Ven, our win percentage is up. Now, obviously, this is skewed because of the number of games we're looking at here, but without Van der Ven, the win percentage is up and the loss percentage is up because there's no draws. Without Van der Ven and Romero, our win percentage is just under 40%. So it's literally 1% worse than when they both play. 1% worse than when they both play. Without Van der Ven, Romero, and Porro, our win percentage has actually been 60% and our loss percentage is 40%. So without those three, the defense has actually not done worse. It's done better. Without Angggeee only, our win percentage is much further down. It's only 34%. Without Porro and Angggeee, our win percentage is 100% win. Right. So I won't show all these stats, but I'm going to send them to you and the boys in the WhatsApp group. But it goes to show, doesn't it, that all these people that just say, when he's got all his players back, facts aren't showing that, Chris.
Was it last season when we were at our best, when we had Emerson Royal and Ben Davies playing as the centre-back partnership, we compared the stats between Van der Ven and Romero, and we were actually tighter when we had those two.
Yeah, big up, Mark. This must be the Mark who did it. Big up to you, Mark. I mean, Chris, this is the key thing. And before we just quickly go back to the transfer window, everyone who's coming out with the lazy narrative of wait till all our players are fit. Well, first of all, not that many are injured. And second of all, Chris, we heard this all of last year when Maddison, Romero and Van der Ven were out. They came back and nothing changed. They came back and we were worse in the end of the season. One player I would love Spurs to buy, and somebody put this in the chat earlier. I should probably do this super chat first. Big up, Blaine there. Thank you. Very generous, my man. I just wish everyone else was as generous with likes and subscribers, please. As we are now only 170 away from 15K. He says, sorry to come back in again. Don't have to apologize, but the work comparison is telling. I took over from a manager in March 23 who had 65% versus target. My team just hit 90% this year. That's progress and is in reverse. Blaine, Dev, big up to you and your management.
Actually, Blaine, are you available to coach Tottenham? Yeah.
Are you available to quit your job and come and manage Tottenham? Blaine, Dev, listen, this is the point. The whole point when a manager comes in, right, is I'm not expecting in month 1 to 3 that I'm going to see us go, phew, but I am expecting after 18 months that I start to see all the metrics get better, not worse. Big up to you, Blaine. I really appreciate that. Big up, Dan. I love Dan. Absolutely. If Spurs had anything about them, this is the quality of player, Chris, that I want to see. I want to see Spurs go, right, Wolves, what do you want for Cunha? Right? Not, we'll offer you 40. How much do you want? 70? Boom. This is the type of player I want to see Tottenham signing, Chris. Do you like him?
100%, yeah. And bearing in mind, we spent, about 160 million on Solanke, Richarlison and Brennan Johnson. There's no excuse whatsoever not to pay the fees required to bring top talent into the club. If not, we just continue on the merry-go-round of bringing crap dross into the club as it's cheap.
No, absolutely. Mr. Post Office, I did caveat and say that the stats are going to be skewed by the number of games for each sample size. So I do understand percentages, my friend. This is an interesting one, Chris. Lots of people have been messaging me saying this, right, in my YouTube and on TikTok and stuff. Said, Savva, I know this is not a nice thing to say, but if losing to Wolves will get him sacked, then I hope we lose. That's how fed up I am. Chris, we never want Spurs to lose, but if someone said to you right now, we're going to lose to Wolves and it 100% guarantees his sacking, would you forgo that game for him to go?
Every day of the week, you've got to look at the bigger picture, and the bigger picture is the progression and development and success of Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. I support the badge on the front of the shirt, not the name on the back of it. And I've seen many managers over my period of being a Spurs fan. I don't have an emotional attachment to any of them. I just want the very best person qualified to deliver success. And if that's what it takes to get this oaf out the door, then so be it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but by the way, I have seen a lot of reports in this last week that Arsenal do want Cunha. That's the sort of player I think Arsenal are crying out for, by the way. I think he will really change the way they attack. But I watched him last night. I watched him last season. I think he's the first Wolves player were they saying Wolves player for like 40 years or something, 30 years to get 16 or more goals in a calendar year with his goal yesterday. Powerful, direct, good feet, good skill, scores goals, pacey. Again, why are Wolves scouting those players? We're buying Brennan Johnsons. This is mind blown. Another thing I wanted to talk to you about, Chris. I know you got 5-10 minutes.
5 minutes, yeah, and then family stuff kicks in.
There's lots of people have. The worst thing about being on YouTube is everyone sends you everything on WhatsApp, right? Every day I wake up to reports and stuff, which is, it's not the worst thing, but you know what I mean. And people have been sending me this today that, again, I don't know how true this is, but that according to reports in Turkey, that Edin Terzic has turned down the Besiktas job as he's waiting for an agreement for Tottenham. Now, I never believe all of those types of things, but I would definitely take Terzic at Tottenham Hotspur. Would you take him?
100%. Yeah. Yeah. He knows football. He's had some success in the past. And if you're talking about long-term projects, there's a guy you could give 4 or 5 years to, because he's not approaching 60 as Angggeee.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I completely agree. And look, Mafouz, I get it, right? Listen, I'm not saying I want Spurs to lose. The reason I would never say lose to get him sacked is I don't think it guarantees him the sack. The problem
let's put some perspective into that whole thing. How many Spurs fans were stood and sat behind next to me in the South Stand last season, hoping that Man City beat us so that Arsenal didn't win the league? So you can't have it both ways. You can't say, oh no, I'd never want us to lose at the risk of losing a manager, but then be applauding Man City goals and almost supporting the opposition when they're at the Tottenham Stadium, because you don't want your North London rivals to win the league. You can't have it both ways.
No, look, absolutely. Look, at the end of the day, my worry is, Chris, for the last few minutes, I know you've got to go. I'll stay on, by the way, everyone, afterwards, just for a little bit. My worry, Chris, is I can see us losing to Wolves and Newcastle and him not going. Like, there seems to be no noise for this man going, even though he's the worst manager we've had for, I want to say, well, factually,
Ever.
I think he's the worst manager I've ever seen in the dugout of Spurs. And I'm chucking Christian Gross into that mix. I think he is the worst I've seen. He's not likable. This whole thing was, oh, but he's likable. I don't think he's likable, Chris. I think he's a really unlikable character.
I think he comes across as quite an unpleasant individual. If you question him, he gets gnarly with you. And I don't think he's the mouthpiece for Tottenham Football Club, which should be a brand ambassador and reflecting the professionalism. That's a word not really associated with Tottenham, but the professionalism of an alleged elite sports club.
I like Terzic is a bottler. Yeah, I mean, imagine he finished just below Bayern Munich in the league and lost to Real Madrid in the Champions League final. I think people really need to change what their description of the word bottler means. Do you know what I mean? It's like me and Brad Pitt going to talk to the same woman. He gets her first, and then people going, I bottled it. Maybe Brad Pitt's just a bit better looking and a bit more famous than I am. It's just how the world works. Jim, no one's attacking his professionalism. I don't rate anything about him, Jim, unfortunately. I think his interviews are embarrassing. I think his press conferences are terrible. I think the way he talks to people is really rude. Sorry, mate. Jim, I know, I get it. I know you're Australian. I know you like him. But unfortunately, all the facts and stats don't back you up. Look, Chris,
and he's surrounded himself by a really weak coaching network. And that's the thing. When you look at the whole coaching setup, it's paper thin, it's not fit for purpose, and it's not on par with some of our competitors in the Premiership.
Absolutely. Christian Gross had a travel card. Remember those days? The old travel card? Look, Chris, I am going to let you go. Last question I'm going to say is, somebody asked in the chat was, Potter is available. Now, Potter's not somebody that I've ever gone, yeah. But if you said to me right now, Potter or Ange, 100% I want Potter over Ange. That's how bad we are.
Look, I'd welcome Tim Sherwood back with open arms if it meant seeing the back of Ange.
Look at the stick Tim Sherwood got. No transfer windows, came in, had a better win percentage than this manager. Everyone hated him. Get Sherwood out. Ange, oh, he's lovely. He wins wherever he goes. I think a lot of people have egg on their face, Chris. Look, whatever you do today, enjoy. Thank you so much for joining. Really enjoy it as always. I think the viewers really enjoy you coming on as well.
Well, Happy New Year, everybody. Thanks for the opportunity to chat this morning, Savva. And hopefully we'll wake up in the next 48 hours with a message saying he's gone. I doubt it, but that's my hope.
Yeah, I don't know such luck. We're so Spursy, we can't even sack a manager properly. Big up to you, mate. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. And I'll see you next week.
Take care, guys. See you later. Bye-bye.
Let me know in the chat, people. I'll stay around for another 15, 20 minutes or so. Let me know in the chat. I'll kick. Yeah, you go, Chris Scott. Let me know in the chat. Let me know the name of some managers you'd like. Tell me why as well, but keep it realistic. Like, there's no point asking for a Jurgen Klopp or a Pep or a Diego Simeone. There's no point. We're not getting those managers. Who would be a realistic manager? And please realize the point of where we're at now. I think because of Ange, we're not as attractive to managers to come in. So I think we need to be very pragmatic about it. By the way, first of all, thank you very much. Look, that's where we're at the moment. 14,828. 620 of you in here. We're 170 away from the 15K. So if anyone would subscribe, that would be absolutely amazing. Thank you for the people who have liked so far. I really do appreciate all of your support. Let me go to some of your comments. Barbaric Disdain has said, although I want Levy out, people can't blame him for these results. I agree. He doesn't tell Ange to expose our players. Let's be realistic. I think this goes down to, Barbaric, doesn't it? It's about micro versus macro problems at Spurs. The micro problem is Ange. The macro problem for the last 24 years is Daniel Levy. But I always say this. Barbaric. Even if a new owner came in right now, Ange is not the man I would want to have the keys to a fortune to buy players. He is not the guy I would want. He is dreadful. Bella has said Thomas Frank is available. Mark wants Gasparini. Yeah, Gasparini's a very good manager. I think the problem you've got there is they're the current Europa League holders. They're in a title race in the Serie A. I just can't see that he would leave mid-season, and it's what a lot of people are saying about Ederson as well. The defensive midfielder, like why would Ederson leave them? Let's go. Why would Ederson leave them mid-season to join another club? By the way, I'm going to just put the pin in for anybody to subscribe. Channel membership is available as well. And from January, we're going to have once a month channel member shows just to keep you all updated that we've got. From January, we're still going to have debate Savva. We're going to have all the live watch-alongs. We've got the Spurs review. I've got a show every Tuesday coming out with Stel where we ask you to put in your questions before the show. Then we answer them for an hour. And I've also got a new panel show starting mid to the end of January called The Collective. So we've got a lot coming for you. So please do subscribe if you haven't already. It really does mean a lot. And I do try my best to be as interactive as possible. And the pinned message is currently the link to subscribe. Marco Silva from the International Observer, my man, said, Marco Silva, do you know what? At least Sean Dyche can organise a defence, can't he? Do you know what I mean? Has to be outside the box, literally. McKenna, Thomas Frank is my number one choice. Silva, Iriola, or Frank. Again, it's from the clubs around us with managers that are doing well. I don't like anything about him, Jim. It's not a challenge. I don't like anything about. Okay, I think his signings are poor. I think his man management is poor. His substitutions, his tactics, his in-game management, his press conferences, his interviews. I don't rate anything about him, Jim. I'm really not sure why you're pushing it. Nearly everybody else in here has realized how bad he is over the last 18 months, and you're fighting it. Jim, feel free to come on. Feel free to come on and tell me why you like Ange. I bet you won't. Tell me what's good about him. Michael said, by the way, I love all the calling our fan base bottle jobs for wanting to lose to City, and now they excuse every single lost match this season because it's a process. Look, I think what's interesting, Mikal, is it's whenever he loses a game. I've seen videos from YouTubers going, "Oh, we were unlucky yesterday," or "I thought Ange got it right," and I'm looking at it going, "What are you watching?" We're now at the state where people can't just put their hand up and say, "I've got it wrong about this manager." And this is what I don't understand. We've become a human race of people that don't understand that people are allowed to change their mind and move when there's a body of evidence that suggests you can, to quote Sean, pivot, Right? Big up, Sean. Not heard from you for a while, Sean. I'm starting to get worried. I hope you're well, buddy. Hang on, let's have a look. Who sent me this? Sorry. If the body of evidence shows me that he's not doing well, I will change my opinion. When he first came in, I thought breath of fresh air, right? The first 10 games were great. But then after that, you start going, right, what have you got? How do you change things? How do you adapt? And unfortunately, he doesn't. Eddie Howe, I'd love Eddie Howe. Can't see him leaving Newcastle for any reason to join Tottenham. I think Eddie Howe is a brilliant football coach. Mr. Box Office always says this. Mr. Box Office has been more right about Tottenham than anyone else I know. I'll put myself in that bracket. Mr. Box Office has been more right than anyone, but people didn't want to hear it. Big up, Alex. Xavi, Marco Silva, Thomas Frank. Henry wants Potter, Thomas Frank. His name's coming up a lot. Silva is coming up a lot as well. Yeah. I'd love Angggeee. I would, but just never going to happen. Marco Silva, Frank Uriola are the names coming up. Silva all day long. Silva, Frank, Gasparini, Zidane. None of them will ever damage their reputation and join such a toxic club. It's mad, isn't it? Dennis, isn't it true? We are, aren't we? We're so Spursy. Look at Wolves. Wolves were doing terribly in relegation form. Bang, manager gone. Next, Southampton. Tottenham are in worse form, and we've gone. No, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Oh, and by the way, our form is for the last 14 months. Wyndham said, yeah, Ben came on, didn't he? Told us it's all going to plan. This is what Ange wanted. This is what Ange does, he said. His words, not mine. His words. We're on a V. We've got to go down there to get. It just absolutely cracks me up. You watch, though, the next game we win, whether or not it's against Wolves or whoever we beat, the next game. See, we're back. Patience. Mate, I can't stand this manager at all. Iriola or Mikel at Girona, good manager. The Fiorentina manager is someone I would definitely be looking at as well. Silva or Iriola. I'd take anyone with the correct badges. I'm at that stage as well, George, where I genuinely would take anybody over this guy. Stella and I wouldn't be playing inverted fullbacks, but yes, absolutely. McKenna is another one people are talking about. Big up March for sure. Marco Silva. Marco Silva's name being put out a lot. Thanks, Noah. Very nice of you to say. I agree. Listen, this is what I think gets me is when I say I really don't rate Ange and want him gone. People go, oh, there's bigger issues. There's loads of issues at Spurs, but this guy's the biggest at the moment. This guy's the biggest right now. My question to people who want Frank is why would he leave Brentford for us? Let me know in the chat. Let me know, people. Respond to Miss Bunny. Why would Frank leave Brentford for Spurs? Keith Shields said, Savva, I'd go for Potter. He's free and waiting for a job. He has more tactical ability than Ange. Not sure we have the pull at present to bring in top managers. I agree. That's why I've said I don't think the next name needs to be a wow, Conte, Mourinho. I don't think it needs to be that. I think it needs, as my man Ben Kaufman said, it needs to be a sensible manager. None of this 10 behind the ball. None of this 10 in front of the ball. We need a sensible manager. Big up, mate. I've been back on YouTube for about 7 months, but big up to you. Big up to you, Torch. Thank you very much. Russell Martin is free. Russell Martin's as bad as Ange, isn't he? With less experience. I would like this guy. I'd take Iriola in a heartbeat. With the squad he's got, he does a fantastic job. And has done a better job than Ange since he's been at Spurs. Let that sink in. We're gonna Schumacher, Robbins, Parkinson, and Matt Bloomfield. Madness. Big Oliver, has said, first time watching, agree with what you said about Ange. The injuries are on his idiotic style of play. Agreed. Watch Arsenal and Liverpool centre-backs play. They barely sprint. Big Oliver, I love that. Are you a big lad or are you a small lad and it's used ironically? Or is it nothing to do with that? Look, I completely agree. When you watch most teams, their centre-backs aren't running around like lunatics, are they? Their midfielders aren't running about on the right wing, right back, left back. It's insanity, these tactics. Oh, I'm guessing you're an Ipswich fan. Please don't take McKenna. Either that or you just don't like him. Let me know what you think. Thank you for the 3 people that just subscribed. It really does mean a lot. Arteta showed how to beat Ange. Be compact defensively and then a set piece or counter attack. By the way, probably a good chance for me to tell you guys tonight on Big Up. Hang on, let me just double check. It is tonight, isn't it? Yeah, tonight on Big Up, I am going to be doing a watch along for Brighton versus Brentford. For anyone who doesn't know Big Up, it's a really chilled place, good platform. Lots of gifts. There's the tactics boards, the scoreboards built in. If one of my mods would, no, do you know what? How lazy am I? I'll send you the link to my Big Up. Please get over there and subscribe to my Big Up channel. I'll be live tonight. Here you go. There is the link for Big Up. I'll be live there tonight. I'll post it in here later. And if anyone fancies joining me for a quiet Friday evening watching Brighton versus Brentford, which should be a good game, then please feel free to join me. First 10 games was a new manager bounce. I completely agree. Goonie has said, problem is football's become a place where people want to fit in and are more concerned about bragging rights and not getting bantered. Goonie, you're spot on, mate. There's people out there that won't tell the truth because they're scared of being seen a negative fan. They've seen the abuse that the likes of me and Stel get for telling the truth. They don't want that. They don't want that. So they say fluffy things, yeah, and then everyone goes, oh, they're a better fan than you. Are they? They're just lying. It's not difficult. I mean, you have a look at these YouTubers making, not even Spurs YouTubers. Yeah. Spurs are scary. What Spurs are building is amazing. Go away. You don't know Spurs. Go away. Marco Silva would get more out of this squad. Marcus Shallow has said, Big Sam Allardyce. His name gets rolled out, doesn't it, every time a manager gets sacked from any club anywhere in the world. Quinny has said, weren't we looking at Marcelo Gallardo before Ange? Apparently we were. Savva, get your UEFA Pro. I've got my UEFA B license, just so you know. But that was a long time ago. Robert said, yeah, Ben said we need to hit the bottom of the V, then we will it's mad, isn't it? Like, is there a set date where we go, right, we're at the bottom? Like, it's mad, isn't it? These people have been so wrong. I'd absolutely take Holness from Stuttgart. Absolutely, I would, my man. Sydney, mate, listen, dream on, mate. Florian Wirtz is never going to come to a Tottenham Hotspur. When he leaves Leverkusen, he's going to a Munich, a Madrid, a City, a Barca. He's a top player. I'd take Mark White of Dorking Wanderers. The press conferences would be amazing and they'd be bleeped out. If anyone doesn't know Mark White at Dorking Wanderers, please go and have a look. What a funny man Mark White is. By the way, with 20 likes away from 300, we should be on 300 likes. Poch doesn't have a job. Isn't Poch the manager of the USA? Isn't he manager of that? Mark has said, Frank, yeah, hang on. Isn't Poch the manager of the United States? Frank has flirted with the bigger jobs for a while. He wants the added challenge, I think. Well, listen, he's been at Brentford a long time. He's done a really good job. And I guess there's only so much you can do with a club that size. Walter, as I've said, I'd take Silva, Areola. I'd take Terzic. I'm at the stage where I'd take Potter. I would take the Fiorentina manager. I would take Holness. I would take Mikel of Girona. And the system, I want to manage. The thing is, with the system, I just want a system that makes sense. I can't tell the manager what system they should play, I just want a manager that makes sense, not all the crap that we've seen from Ange. Well, Money Mace, listen, for me, this season's written off. For me, this season's going to be written off, right? At the end of the day, if Ange goes, let a new manager come in, let him do what he can for the end of the season, and then go again in the summer. But what our fans, not saying you, Money Mace, what our fans need to realize is every single time they say things like, oh, you want to start a project again, right? First of all, I don't know what the project is. Second of all, when clubs change managers, it's not always called a project, only at Spurs. Mike Clifford's another one in absolute denial. Big up, Mike. He's always in here, never rude, but you've been very wrong about the manager for a very long time. It's not your fault, Mike. You believed in a lie. Big up to you. Yeah, the tactic board on Big Up is really, really good. Yeah, and is that my link to Big Up, George? I'm just asking for a friend, i.e. me. Scott Parker. Someone saying Scott Parker. Yeah, still look, the names are coming around. Ian has said the abuse is getting worse because things are becoming increasingly desperate. If you're talking about from other fans, yeah, I see the number of people that slag me off daily in other YouTube channels is madness, and they don't like that I've been absolutely 100% spot on about Ange and the football club. They don't like it. They don't like it. It's because they say Savva wanted this to happen. No, Savva said this was going to happen. Bold Musa, it blows my mind seeing other YouTubers of other clubs doing videos about Spurs talking about how great we are. It's just all clickbait. It's all clickbait. Look at Kuva said, I've never seen the credit from a new manager bounce last for so long. Bang on, Kuva. Happy Christmas to you, man. Happy Christmas. I love you. I do love you. Sincerely mean it. Since those first 10 games, Ryan Mason has a better record as manager with us, and we had worse teams. Mate, I know this is what I don't get. I do not understand the love for him. Yeah, Poch is the US man. Yeah, he is, isn't he? Yeah. Give me Emma Hayes. I'll take Emma Hayes over this clown. I'll take Emma Hayes all day, every day. I would. Yes, I thought he did. I listen. I just want a manager. I just want a normal manager. I can't watch this guy embarrass our football club anymore. It's just the denial from him, isn't it? It's the denial from him that he can't just admit how bad he's got it wrong and how bad we are. He keeps doubling down. Like, it was always going to be a tough game. Yeah, of course it was going to be a tough game. Forest are doing well. But that was your job to break them down, to find a tactic, to find a solution. And you never do, mate. Agreed. I've no idea what project we're talking about. No idea. I'm waiting. I'm just waiting to see if any of those YouTubers change their mind now. The evidence has proved them categorically wrong. There's nothing personal against any of them, but which one of them will turn around and go, hands up, yeah, do you know what? It's time. He's not done well. I wonder if anyone will. If they do, fair play to them. But they'd be expecting me to do it if it's the other way around. If Tottenham win and finish second and won 2 trophies, they'd want me to turn around and go, I was wrong. But they won't do it their end. Big up Terry. Said, Savva, did you know Ange didn't even hold a UEFA Pro license when he joined Celtic? Celtic had to appeal it. Is that true? Is that true? It doesn't surprise me. He's tactically dreadful. Oh, yeah. No, I was just checking, George. I put the link in for mine. Don't worry. It's absolutely fine. By the way, yeah, on Big Up, that would be amazing. It's a really good place. And we're trying to grow the user base on there. So that would be great if anyone would go over there. Wayne has said, Michael Carrick looks like a decent manager. I'm at the stage where I'd take Michael Carrick. Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to talk about other creators personally. I'm talking about the world of YouTube, right? Not personal people. The world of YouTube I'm talking about. Hayes is the female Sir Alex. I take Emma Hayes all day long. Yeah, I'd take Emma Hayes all day long. Adam Crow said it's embarrassing, Savva, that so many are accepting this level of manager. He is so... Do you know what? Tactically naive, I think, is polite. I think he's absolutely crap. Like, I think he is so bad. Gary has said, can we please accept that the Poch ship has sailed? Someone like Marco Silva for me. Yeah, possibly. Yeah, possibly it could have sailed. I agree. I was never somebody that was like, oh my God, get Ange back. I don't believe you should. The problem I've got now is if someone said to me, Poch is available and would come back over Ange all day, but I would like to try something else first. Good morning, Anita. We are ending the show in a few minutes, but good morning to you. Oh, I hate Ali. I hate it. Spurs lost today. Spurs can finish third. It's mental, isn't it? It's mental. One of my favorite videos is here's how Spurs beat Liverpool. What we do these videos, right? Where people go, if he did this with his tactics, that he doesn't change his tactics. He doesn't change his tactics. Torture said, Savva, I remember you rubbing fans of your clubs the wrong way from time back with Ange. They're just bitter and salty that you got it right. Big difference between hoping and seeing clearly. Absolutely, Torch. Absolutely. Big up to you. Guys and girls, listen, I'll Arian's allowed on. I don't know him personally. Arian's allowed on. I'm sure he's somewhere licking his wounds at the moment because, again, another one who's got it very wrong. No, I don't. I don't. I'm not saying it's right. I just don't see it. I don't see it. But I'd take her all day long. No, I'll tell you what I'll do, Kuba. When Ange is sacked, I'll have a thumbnail of me going like that. How about that? Butchie said, I just cannot understand why is this the manager our fans support this much? I can't agree more, mate. I can't agree more. Savage, you see my last comment? Not sure how reliable Standard Sport are as a source, but I wouldn't be surprised. George, I've got a lot of comments, my man. Put it in again and I'll have a look in a minute. Savage just done that face and Goldbridge has just put up a video up with a similar face in his thumb. Listen, I get it. People, it's the shock factor. My thumb now is always that, isn't it? It's me with my arms crossed. That's it. It's the same face. Where are we? Savva, I said ages ago, he will get himself sacked. He will. Issue is the leave your rescue plan. Listen, we all know that the aftermath could be ugly, but that doesn't change the fact that he needs to get sacked. Big Oliver has said inverted fullbacks and a high line isn't tactics. It's just trying to be different. And if it worked, every manager would be doing it. Ange is a fraud. Can't disagree with any of that. Guys and girls, we are 15 away from 14,850. Before I wrap up the show in 2 minutes, can we get another 15 subscribers to help me get only 150 away from 15K? We might be able to do it by January the 1st. We might be able to do it. There is the link. I've just put it in the chat. It would be much appreciated. It is free. I must state that it is free. It doesn't cost anybody a penny, but it makes a huge difference to me. Morton Barley has said, do you think he will be sacked or will he walk, saying it's the best thing for him and the club? I reckon when he eventually leaves, it was a mutual agreement. But this manager should have been sacked a year ago. He's dreadful. He's absolutely dreadful. What have I missed? What have I missed? What did George say? Just in Archie's performance at centre back have eased the pressure. Well, look, apparently Ange said we didn't want another centre-back because he didn't want to block the path of Vuskovic, who's about 16, 17, isn't he? Steve Cooper. God, Jeff. Oh, it couldn't be any worse than Ange, could it? Mr. Bean. Yeah, why not? Get in Rowan Atkinson. Let's do it. Thank you to the 5 people who did just subscribe. Come on, 10 more. I'm going to set a target in the next 3 minutes. 10 more of you. Come on. 10 more to subscribe to get me to 14,850. Come on, people. Play the game. Be nice. All day, every day. Redknapp to the end of the season. When Redknapp came in at Spurs, yeah, he didn't have a lot to work with, and he changed that club around instantly. because he's a proper manager with proper tactics who can man-to-man manage, coach, in-game management. Oh, my God. Sorry, mate. Sorry, Kuva. Sorry. It's because I keep mentioning you and saying how much I love you. YouTube wants you to watch me. Wow. Just wow. It beggars belief, doesn't it? Big Oliver said at a Fulham game, I said to the guy next to me, why would you run around and be motivated by a guy standing there with his hands in his pockets? No emotion, no tactics, so unlikable. Agreed. As I said to you, the guy that keeps trying to force me, the Australian guy that keeps trying to tell me that I'm wrong, tell me things you like about Ange. I can't. I don't rate, not personal. I'm sure he's a lovely bloke. As a football manager, I don't rate anything about him. Thank you. Absolutely, Bella. Absolutely. We only need 8 to go. 8 to go. Can we get 8 more? There's the link. 8 more. Can we get 8 more? There's Jules. There's the link. 8 more. Come on, you tight people. It's Christmas. Yes, I would take George Graham back over this guy. Yes, I don't rate Ange. I don't rate him 1 out of 100. I think he is dreadful. I've said it for nearly a year. This manager is dreadful. Redknapp is overhyped. I'm not even going to read the rest of that. He was brilliant at Spurs. Harry Redknapp gave me some truly wonderful memories to keep me warm on winter nights. I love the guy. Yep. I've thoroughly enjoyed his 3 or 4 years. Thoroughly enjoyed the 4 years at Tottenham under Redknapp. Proper manager. Absolutely. Proper manager. I agree with you. Just say it, Savva. We need the magic one. And on that note, Mark, listen, you tight people, we needed 8 more people to get to 14,850. We didn't even get 1. You tight people. John Lee wants Thomas Frank. Steve Bruce in. John Sitton. Wow. Yeah, wow. John Sitton. Guys, girls, it's been an absolute pleasure. As I said, I don't think I've got any other streams today. I will be on YouTube. I'll be live tonight on Big Up. Come over and join me. It's good over there. It is a good laugh. I'm going to be doing a chilled out one for Brighton v Brentford, or Brentford Brighton, whichever way round it is. Much love. Take care. Have I missed anything? Paul Shepherd has become a YouTube member. Big up, Paul. I thought you were. Maybe you're just renewing, but big up to you, Paul. Thank you very much. And Rob Frank has been a member for 7 months. Big up to you as well, Rob. Much love to you as well. Look, guys, girls, go and spend some time with your loved ones. Tell them how much you love them. I'm about to go and eat for the first time today, but I've eaten a lot over the last 3 days, and I'm so fat right now. Much love. Take care. What are we tomorrow? I'll probably do something tomorrow. And then Sunday, we have got live watch along of Tottenham v Wolves, and then the Spurs review. Take care, everyone. Much love. And as always, come on, you Spurs.